why you can't stop thinking about them. Let me share something that could shift your perspective on relationships, loss, and perhaps even yourself. First, have you ever found yourself drifting into thoughts of someone, even when you swore you had moved on? It happens in quiet moments, lying in bed at night, when a familiar song plays, or when a random scent brings a rush of emotion you weren't expecting. It's not always dramatic. Sometimes it's subtle, like a whisper in the back of your mind, but it's there, lingering. Maybe you tell yourself it's just nostalgia, that it doesn't mean anything. Maybe you try to dismiss it, bury it under distractions, hoping that one day you'll wake up and find them gone from your thoughts. And yet, despite all your efforts, they remain. It's almost as if their presence has nothing to do with them at all. But what does it stem from? Are these persistent thoughts indicative of something deeper? Carl Jung believed that nothing in the unconscious mind is random. Thoughts don't simply appear without reason. If someone continues to resurface in your mind, it's because your psyche is trying to tell you something. This person isn't just a memory. They're a symbol, a representation of something far greater than themselves. The unconscious is a vast, intricate landscape filled with everything we have experienced. Every wound, every joy, every unresolved emotion. Some things get neatly stored away, while others, the ones that hold real weight, find ways to reappear over and over again until we finally listen. Maybe you believe that if you had closure, the thoughts would stop. Maybe you think if you distract yourself enough, you'll finally be free. But what if the harder you try to silence them, the louder they become? Jung believed that the things we resist the most are the very things that persist, that the mind does not let go of something it still needs to understand. And so, the real question isn't why you're still thinking about them, but what part of yourself is being reflected in them. Because sometimes, the people who occupy our thoughts the most are not just people. They are mirrors, showing us something we have yet to recognize within ourselves. This exploration delves into the depths of the unconscious mind, exploring the psychological forces at play when someone lingers in our thoughts long after they're gone. By blending Jungian psychology with modern-day interpretations and personal reflections, we will uncover the hidden meanings behind these persistent thoughts and explore the path toward true healing and self-discovery. 1. The mirror of the mind, projection and the unspoken self. What if the reason you can't stop thinking about them has nothing to do with them at all? What if they're just a reflection, an echo of something within you, something your mind is trying to make sense of? Carl Jung believed that we don't just see people for who they are. We see them through the lens of our own experiences, wounds, and unspoken desires. In other words, we project parts of ourselves onto them, often without even realizing it. Projection is one of the most powerful psychological forces shaping human relationships. It happens when we take something buried within us, an insecurity, an unmet need, a repressed part of ourselves, and assign it to someone else. We think we are obsessing over a person, but in reality, we are obsessing over what they represent. It's not just about them. It's about what they awaken in us. This unconscious process shapes not only our romantic relationships, but also our friendships, familial bonds, and even our perceptions of strangers. Understanding projection is key to understanding why certain individuals hold such power over our thoughts and emotions. Have you ever admired someone so deeply, felt drawn to them in a way that felt almost beyond your control? It could be because they embody something you've disowned in yourself, some part of you that you've suppressed or forgotten. Maybe they have a confidence you secretly wish you had. Maybe they possess a sense of freedom, a way of living unapologetically that you crave but have never allowed yourself to embrace. And so, your mind fixates on them, not because they hold the answer, but because they remind you of something missing in yourself. Then there's the other side of projection, the shadows, the parts of ourselves we don't want to see, the wounds we don't want to acknowledge. Sometimes, the people who stay in our thoughts the longest are the ones who have hurt us the most. We replay conversations, relive the pain, analyze every little detail as if searching for something we missed. But Jung would tell you that this fixation isn't about them. It's about the part of you that was triggered, the wound that was exposed, the fear that was activated. Until you recognize what that is, your mind will keep circling back, trying to solve the puzzle. So ask yourself, what does this person represent to you? What qualities do they have that stir something inside you? What emotions do they bring to the surface? Because the truth is, the thoughts won't stop until you stop looking outward and start looking within. The person you're thinking about is just a mirror, and the reflection is trying to show you something important. Exploring the concept of projection involves acknowledging that our perceptions are inherently subjective. We filter the world through our own unique experiences, biases, and emotional baggage. This means that our interactions with others are always influenced by our internal landscape, often in ways we are not consciously aware of. 2. Echoes of the past, archetypes, and the unconscious blueprint of attraction. Some of these attachments, these lingering thoughts, are not just about projection. They're tied to something even older, something that has been shaping your relationships long before you even met them. This is where we begin to uncover the hidden forces of archetypes, the universal patterns that dictate who we connect with and why. Not all thoughts are just thoughts. Some of them run deeper, tracing back to patterns older than you can remember. Have you ever wondered why certain people leave such an impact on you, while others fade effortlessly into the background? Why some connections feel almost fated, as if they were meant to happen? Carl Jung believed that this isn't random. He argued that our strongest emotional attachments aren't just about the people themselves. They're shaped by archetypes, universal patterns buried deep within the human psyche. Archetypes are like invisible blueprints, guiding the way we see the world, the way we love, the way we attach. They're the unspoken forces that pull us towards certain people while pushing us away from others. Recognizing these archetypes can illuminate the deeper reasons behind our attractions and attachments. The most powerful of these are the anima and the animus, the unconscious feminine within the male psyche and the unconscious masculine within the female psyche. When someone keeps resurfacing in your mind, it might be because they have awakened this deep internal part of you. Think about the people you've been most drawn to in your life. Have they followed a pattern? Do they seem to share certain traits, evoke similar emotions? This isn't just coincidence. Your unconscious mind has been shaping your attachments long before you were ever aware of it. Some people embody the qualities you seek, the energy that feels familiar. Others bring out something buried in you, old wounds, unresolved conflicts, deep-seated fears. This is why certain people linger in our minds long after they're gone. They didn't just enter our lives, they activated something within us. Understanding the anima and animus archetypes involves recognizing the inherent bisexuality of the human psyche. Jung believed that within each individual exists both masculine and feminine qualities, regardless of their biological sex. These archetypes represent the idealized versions of the opposite sex that reside within our unconscious, influencing our attractions and relationships. 3. The silent scream. Unhealed wounds and the imprisonment of the past. Sometimes, these attachments are not about what we need, but about what we lack. The people who consume our thoughts may symbolize the part of us we have yet to embrace, the strength we've denied ourselves, the confidence we never claimed, the love we never fully gave to ourselves. Until we recognize that, until we understand what they mirror back to us, our minds will keep holding on to them, trying to make sense of what was never just about them in the first place. Even deeper than archetypes and attachments lies something else, something even more powerful, the unhealed wound. Wounds we carry, the silent fears that shape our emotions, the subconscious patterns that keep us stuck in the past. Until we face those wounds, until we confront the real reason why certain people stay in our minds, we will continue searching for answers in all the wrong places. This concept of unhealed wounds aligns with attachment theory, which posits that our early childhood experiences shape our attachment styles and influence our relationships throughout life. Unresolved trauma or emotional neglect can lead to insecure attachment patterns, making us more vulnerable to fixating on individuals who trigger these underlying wounds. Some thoughts don't just linger. They grip you, pull you back into places you thought you had left behind. It's as if no matter how much you try to let go, some invisible force keeps you tethered, keeps you wondering, keeps you remembering. The reason you can't stop thinking about them isn't because of who they are. It's because of what they wounded inside of you. Carl Jung believed that the things we try hardest to suppress are the very things that end up controlling us. That's why certain people become imprinted in our minds. They didn't just walk into our lives, they triggered something we've been carrying for a long time. Maybe it was a fear of abandonment. Maybe it was a wound of rejection. Maybe it was an ache for validation that you didn't even realize was still there. And when someone activates that part of you, when they bring an old wound to the surface, your mind holds on to them. Not because they're special, but because your psyche is trying to heal. Understanding the connection between past wounds and present attachments is crucial for breaking free from these patterns. It requires a willingness to confront painful memories and to acknowledge the impact of early experiences on our emotional well-being. 4. The distraction of desire. Recognizing the real work that needs to be done. When a physical wound is left untreated, your body keeps sending pain signals to let you know that something isn't right. The same thing happens with emotional wounds. If you can't stop thinking about someone, it's because there's a part of you that is still hurting. Maybe they left without explanation, and your mind keeps replaying everything, searching for closure. Maybe they made you feel unworthy, and now you're trapped in the cycle of trying to prove something, if not to them, then to yourself. Maybe they reminded you of something you've been running from. The mind doesn't hold on to people. It holds on to unfinished emotions, unspoken words, unresolved pain. Until you address the root of it, your thoughts will keep circling back, trying to make sense of what your heart still doesn't understand. Jung would tell you that the answer is not in obsessing over the person, but in turning inward, tracing the pain back to its origin, understanding why this specific wound exists, and finally giving yourself what you've been seeking from someone else. So what is it? What is the wound beneath the thoughts? Is it a longing for connection? A fear of being forgotten? A part of yourself you never fully embraced? Because until you stop asking why they won't leave your mind and start asking what inside you still needs to be healed, the thoughts will never truly fade. Sometimes, the person you can't stop thinking about is simply a distraction from the real work that needs to be done, and that work isn't about them. It's about you. The moment you face the wound, the moment you acknowledge what was never about them in the first place, is the moment you start to reclaim your mind, your heart, and your own sense of peace. This process of self-reflection and emotional healing often requires courage and vulnerability. It involves confronting painful truths about ourselves and our past experiences, but it is also the key to unlocking lasting freedom and fulfillment. Recognizing that the person you are fixating on is merely a distraction allows you to redirect your energy towards the more meaningful task of healing your own wounds. This shift in focus is essential for breaking free from the cycle of longing and attachment and for creating a more authentic and fulfilling life. 5. The hidden controller. Unveiling the shadow self and its influence. Before you can let go, before you can free yourself, there's something even more powerful you need to understand. The shadow self. The part of you that you've been avoiding, the hidden force that shapes not just your thoughts but your entire life. There's a part of you that you don't fully know, a part you've pushed away, ignored, buried beneath distractions, relationships, and endless thoughts about people who should no longer matter. Carl Jung called this the shadow self, the hidden side of you made up of everything you've denied, rejected, or left unclaimed. Whether you realize it or not, this shadow is shaping your thoughts, your emotions, and yes, even your attachments to people you can't seem to forget. The shadow self is not inherently evil or negative. It simply represents the aspects of ourselves that we have deemed unacceptable or undesirable. However, when these aspects are repressed and unacknowledged, they can exert a powerful influence over our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors, often in destructive ways. What if the person who won't leave your mind is not there because you love them or because they're special, but because they're showing you something about yourself that you refuse to see? Jung believed that the relationships that affect us most deeply, the ones that leave lasting imprints, the ones we obsess over, are often the ones that bring us face to face with our own unconscious. Sometimes what keeps you hooked on someone is not their presence, but the way they awakened a part of you that has been hidden for too long. Have you ever noticed how certain people evoke extreme emotions in you? Someone may make you feel insecure, abandoned, unworthy, or desperate for validation. Another may make you feel alive, inspired, or like you are finally understood. The reason they have such a strong effect on you is not because of who they are, but because of what they reflect back to you. They stir something within you, something that was always there, just waiting to be seen. Maybe the person you can't stop thinking about represents a trait you have suppressed. Maybe they embody the freedom, confidence, or emotional depth you have denied in yourself. Maybe they exposed a wound you never wanted to admit was still open. This is why certain people haunt us, because they force us to confront what we've been avoiding. Jung believed that unless you integrate your shadow, unless you acknowledge and accept the hidden parts of yourself, you will remain trapped in cycles of longing, attachment, and fixation. Your unconscious will continue placing mirrors in front of you, using other people as reflections until you finally recognize what it's trying to reveal. Exploring the shadow self requires a willingness to embrace the totality of your being, including the aspects that you have previously judged or rejected. This process of self-acceptance is essential for breaking free from the grip of the unconscious and for living a more authentic and integrated life. 6. The journey of individuation, reclaiming your power and finding true freedom. Understanding your shadow is just the first step. Once you recognize what's been hidden, you have to learn how to free yourself from its control. And that is where we begin the journey toward individuation, the path of truly reclaiming your mind, your emotions, and your sense of self. This journey of individuation requires a commitment to self-awareness, self-acceptance, and continuous personal growth. It is a lifelong process that involves confronting your fears, challenging your beliefs, and embracing the totality of your being. If you've come this far, you've likely realized something profound. The person who won't leave your mind is not just a person. They're a symbol, a reflection, a messenger of something buried deep within you. Now that you've seen the projection, the archetypes, the wounds, and the shadow, it's time to ask the real question. How do you finally let go? Carl Jung believed that true healing comes through a process called individuation, the journey of becoming a fully integrated and conscious version of yourself. Individuation is not about forgetting, suppressing, or forcing yourself to move on. It's about recognizing why this person held such power over you in the first place and reclaiming that power for yourself. Letting go is not an act of resistance. It's an act of understanding. Most people try to move on by distracting themselves, by running into another relationship, by convincing themselves that they no longer care. But thoughts don't disappear just because you ignore them. If someone is still occupying your mind, it means a piece of your psyche is still entangled with them. The only way to truly free yourself is to extract the lesson your unconscious is trying to teach you. Maybe they awakened a longing in you, a desire for love, validation, or connection that you haven't fully given yourself. Maybe they exposed a wound you never wanted to face. Maybe they embodied something you've been suppressing, a part of you that's been waiting to be acknowledged. The key to letting go is not to push these realizations away, but to integrate them, to take back the parts of yourself that you projected onto them, to nurture the wounds they revealed, to recognize that they were never the source of what you were seeing. Jung would tell you that the reason you can't stop thinking about them is because you have given them ownership over a part of your soul, and the only way to truly move forward is to call that part of yourself back. Integration is the process of consciously acknowledging and embracing the previously rejected aspects of your shadow self. It involves understanding the origins of these aspects and finding healthy ways to express them in your life. This process of integration can lead to greater self-acceptance, emotional stability, and authentic self-expression. 7. The journey home, embracing self-love and finding peace within. This is what individuation is about. Learning to become whole, to no longer search for missing pieces in another person, but to find them within yourself. So instead of asking, why am I still thinking about them? Ask, what do I need to reclaim? Instead of trying to forget, try to understand. Instead of waiting for closure, create it within yourself. The moment you stop seeing them as the answer, the moment you recognize that the power to move forward has always been in your hands, is the moment their presence in your mind begins to fade. Everything shifts because you're no longer lost in the illusion that someone else holds the key to your peace. You see now that the person you were searching for was never them. It was always you. There comes a moment when you realize the thoughts are no longer about them. The memories, the longing, the questions, they were never truly about that person at all. They were the breadcrumbs leading you back to yourself. Carl Jung showed us that what lingers in our minds is a reflection of what lingers in our souls. And the moment you stop chasing ghosts and start embracing the lesson, the weight begins to lift. You were never haunted by them. You were being called to heal, and now you know exactly what you need to do. Emancipation from attachments requires a fundamental shift in perspective. From seeking validation and fulfillment from external sources to cultivating self-love and self-sufficiency. This internal transformation is what truly sets you free from the grip of the past and allows you to create a future based on your own authentic desires and values. Conclusion: embracing the journey within. The persistent presence of someone in your thoughts long after they're gone is not a sign of weakness or failure. It's an invitation to embark on a journey of self-discovery. By understanding the psychological forces at play, projection, archetypes, unhealed wounds, and a shadow self, you can unlock the hidden meanings behind these lingering thoughts and reclaim your power to heal and grow. The key is to turn inward, to embrace the totality of your being, and to cultivate self-love and self-acceptance. As you embark on this journey of individuation, you will find that the person you were searching for was always within you. Here are the key takeaways. Recognize the mirror. The person you're thinking about is a reflection of something within you, not the source of your pain or longing. Explore the unconscious. Uncover the hidden patterns and archetypes that shape your attractions and attachments. Heal the wounds. Confront the past traumas and emotional wounds that are keeping you tethered to the past. Integrate the shadow. Embrace the totality of your being, including the aspects you have previously rejected. Reclaim your power. Take ownership of your emotions and create closure within yourself. Embrace self-love. Cultivate self-acceptance and self-compassion as the foundation for lasting freedom and fulfillment. Ultimately, the goal is not to erase the past, but to integrate it into your present self. By understanding the lessons that these lingering thoughts are trying to teach you, you can transform them from sources of pain and longing into catalysts for growth and self-discovery. This journey of individuation is not easy, but it is the path to true freedom and lasting peace. It is a journey of reclaiming your mind, your heart, and your own sense of self.